idea is this, information and information dissemination has just evolved so massively in the last 5 to 10 years. We grew up in the age when basically you lectured, you went out and lectured to share information, you wrote an article, and basically that was it. You touched as many people as you could with that. Now with the internet, everybody is out there somehow in some sort of social media space, which is wonderful. But there's some amazing downsides of that. There's no screening for credentials. There's no screening for experience, let's say. And as good as it can be and how wonderful and quickly we can find information, it's getting harder and harder and harder to know what's good information and what's true or isn't true. We can see that in every area, politics all the way to dentistry and everything in between. And so, as I've seen this evolve, and I love to teach, and I love to share information, it just became clear. The old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Okay, this wave is not stopping. It's only going to get bigger and move faster. So the idea basically is to do something fun, to do something a little different. I've looked at other shows on let's say the internet. Call this a TV show, a live streaming, a tape streaming, whatever we want to call it today. But the idea is to have a little bit of fun, do an interview, share some positive ideas, share some experiences from people. Miguel's been at it 20 years. I've been at it 40 years. You've been at it 40 years. We've all been in university. So we have a very broad experience. So we want to share that.
Well, it sounds kind of cool. And I'll get to Miguel because back in our day, I was lucky enough in my career to just be able to call up my mentor, Jim Dunn, who belonged to AED. And I'd ask him, hey, is this research good? Or I'd call up Ray Berlotta, I'd ask him, is this research good? And he'd go, yes, or he'd go, no. And I go, great, thanks. Okay, on I went. But there's not a lot of that today like we used to have in those days. It was a smaller group, I think, a smaller fraternity of researchers.
The point, though, you were very fortunate you had access to the people that really knew the answers to these questions, okay? We didn't, or a lot of people didn't in those days. Now there's too much of it, all right? That everybody's a self-appointed expert. And that's a real reason we're doing it.
He's ranting already. He's already going. He's right. You can see the brain starting to come up. He wants to go for what's going on right now. But let me tell you, we're in the best time in history of dentistry. Because before, I will go see you in a lecture hall. I will go see you in a congress. And I will see whatever the organizers wanted to put in front of me. And I will have to believe that what you were saying was true. And there is 0.1% of dentists who will go see this, and the other 99.9 are 8 to 5 in their little office doing whatever the heck they learned 20 years ago. And what happened is that as you do that and patients give you praise and your team loves you and you grow with your team, you really start to believe that you're a good dentist. And the reality is that you don't even know what being a good dentist is if you're that 99% of doctors that never did any CE back in the time. Well, guess what? Now I'm on your phone. And I'm showing you other people's work and my work in how to prep and how to isolate and how to deliver things. And you can't hide from the reality of what you see and what you see coming out of your hands. So beyond the fact that if it is too much and unfiltered, which is a great point that I think we should debate on, the fact that nobody can hide anymore what they do in their own brain compared to what they're seeing, I think it's an amazing achievement because now the doors are open. You see what is good. You see what other people are doing. You see what they're talking about. And most dentists and most professionals have the critical common sense to know if what they're listening is completely out there or not. Maybe a few of them take bad advice and apply it. But in my opinion, the fact that now we are, let's say, Miguel Ortiz and Ed and Richard, that we can be on the students' phones when they're listening to a lecture in their university as the professor is saying, no, you need to prepare for retention and resistance. It's like, but Miguel is showing papers that say that you don't. That never happened before. We removed the power of those dogmatic powers that be to control the narrative. And it's open. And this hasn't just happened in dentistry. It has happened all over the world in every single profession. So it comes with negatives, definitely, but I think it's overwhelmingly positive. It also allows a lot of people to understand that you gotta go and take CEs. I think people are taking CEs either online or not more than ever.
Right. Yeah, and to echo and add, I guess, I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely positive. I search a lot of things, but the information can become overwhelming, and I just worry about the false guru, okay? There's just too many of them, and they're multiplying. And that's why we're here.
Anybody listening is listening to many people at once, right? And before we will listen to whoever will be in front of you in a congress. But now nobody's just following one person. So it's really weird that somebody will be a false guru, which they exist, and have complete power over the listener to control their action afterwards, because those people are also following other people.
But what I'm seeing now is that students, even when we bring in these experts who are leading authorities, the students will challenge them because they saw something else on Instagram.
Well, great.
And I think the biggest responsibility for a show like this is to make that aware to these young people, because they base it literally on how many follow. I've had over and over and over, I will give a lecture, and the next week someone come back and counter me, and I'll say, well, but what's the protocol? And they go, well, they have 30,000 followers.
Okay, but we have to deal with it.
Okay. So that's a good rant
Let me
for
interject.
you guys.
That's you, as this discussion right here evolves, that's exactly why we're here. I mean, the starting of what you said was that sounded like students were very good critical thinkers, right up to the point that you said, okay, they've made their decision based on the number of followers. That's exactly what we want to deal with. We want to deal with people, maybe not aware, and try to make them as aware as possible. What truth, what do we actually really know? What do we maybe believe? What is an initial thought that hasn't been proved at all? Those lines of thinking. And I'm sure you watch some great podcasts. I love the medical podcasts. I love the people that really know how to look at the literature. And the ones that do, the ones that aren't dogmatic, they don't come and say, this is the only way to do it. They say, this is a way to do it. Here is some other things to consider. And that's the space we want to be in, okay?
I've been dealing with this a lot. Like in social media, I kind of been the black sheep of dentistry when it comes to coming out strong. And in soccer, we say with the click pointing forward. I started about 5 years ago when I was the first one to really discuss literature on Instagram. And I understood the platform, and I needed to give them fun, jokes, and also give drama and things like that. At the same time that I'm delivering maybe 20 papers in a matter of 10 seconds of a story. And that worked pretty well, because it moved the platform from just pretty pictures to discussing science. And then, people like the dentinal tubule at Marcus Bratz came along and evolved that concept of let's talk science.
Right.
It's interesting how people will react to science very well. People mean our colleagues, and if you package it well, you will be able to get to them. But it's also very interesting how they can be fooled by other accounts that do, I don't want to be repetitive, but it is the classic example, the before and after, and you will get all these comments, thousands of comments on how you're an amazing dentist just because the after looks nice, right? And we have this dichotomy where how is it that you don't understand that an after is not a synonym of good treatment, right? How is it that you just praise somebody just because the ceramics looks good? And you should see in the upper arch, and you don't see in the preparation, the bonding steps, the occlusion, the necessity for that treatment or not, the discussion if they needed ortho or not. As bad as that is, it's still better than when that didn't exist, right? Because before it was nothing. Nobody was seeing all these same treatments that were happening, right? So what I believe is happening is what's happening all over society and every single aspect of social media, which is you have everybody generating content. And my hope, no hope for the future, but like where I actually find peace is in knowing that most people have good common sense. Most people have good common sense. And most people actually do not change because of what they see, which is bad. So because most dentists are lazy, here goes the first, right? Because most dentists are lazy, even if they see things, they don't go and do it. And the ones who are actually strong enough mentally to say, I'm going to try something different tomorrow, I'm going to open this flap in a different way, I'm going to prep different way, I'm going to bond different way. Actually, those people that like to change things are actually the ones who have good critical thinking. So in that way, I think we have like a built-in protection that actually helps a lot of people to do better. And I see it in my courses, and I'm sure you do too, that, you teach something and then 2 months later you get a picture, say, hey, look, I did it and it looks great. What can I help you? Or can I prep different? Can I bond different? Right. The reach is unbelievable, and the speed of information moves so quick that I can't help it but be happy. You know what it did? It did another thing that we might talk in episode 3. It removed the keys to the podium. Because the podium was luck for many people. The podium was always been the place in which speakers scratch each other's backs from conference to conference, and companies will put you here, and because I put you there, then you put me here, and because you're in the same APS society, ACP society, all these, the Golden Foil Society, all these societies, right? They're all the same people that give pins and ribbons to each other every 6 months. The roster will always look the same. And if you dare to come up with a different opinion, like I did a year and a half ago at one big meeting in Boston, and I came in and I gave a different opinion on stage, then you have the big names of the world, literally, no metaphorically, trying to get you off stage. And what they don't understand, and my wife was there that day that happened, is that me speaking to 1,000 people here is actually more or less, I'm wasting my time. So you can take me off the stage, but tomorrow I say the same thing on my account, and within a day, 20,000 dentists are listening.
Yeah.
So removing the key to the podium, what it did is democratize the discern of opinions and information.
Right.
That has a bad side, as we see in politics, for example, right? But it removed the keys to the podium. And that's really good, because people like me that like to talk shit, I will never get to the podium in the 1990s. Never. No one time. Because I'm too controversial, because I'm saying the opposite of what you're saying most of the time. And I think that's a good thing.